Welcome to Be Bite, the podcast where we discuss our life experiences from the ups to the downs to everything in between. I am one of your hosts, Lily.
This is Mario. Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday.
I'm still alive.
What do you? Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. You went.
I actually didn't go. What? I actually didn't go this time because the weather was bad, so we had to reschedule it to next week. So the 2-week suspense is
Oh
too
my god!
great.
I even had it on my calendar. Mario goes skydiving on March 30th.
Yeah, I wish I could have done it that day, but it was raining the entire day, so they wouldn't even
That's fair.
let us jump, I guess.
Okay.
But
so you're doing it.
Yeah, more to
next
come.
week?
Yes, next week. I'm hoping there's no rain because the weather has been really weird lately, where it almost rained every weekend. Almost.
Oh.
This week is the first week that it doesn't rain on Saturday and Sunday for the past month,
Dang.
which is
In California?
unheard of. It's unheard of.
It doesn't rain in
And-
California.
That's what I've been saying. I think it's time to move to Mexico. Or
Oh
something.
my gosh.
And another news is, do you know? Well, I mean, I don't really play lottery, but from what I heard, Powerball jackpot is 1.23 billion now. So go buy one, Lily.
My luck is so bad. I'm like consistently a very unlucky person. So I don't know.
Same. Yeah, same. That's why I don't even buy. But my mom always buy whenever it gets this high. And she always like optimistic, even though 10 plus years of this,
That's
and we
cute,
never get
though.
it anyway.
I remember when I was younger, my parents and their friends would always buy a lottery ticket on like birthdays, or like if we had a party or something, everybody would help like fill in a number and then we would do the lottery that way. But I've only done the lottery one time as an adult by myself just to like try it. But
Did you win anything? Like at least $4?
$4? No, that's a lot. I think one time I might have won like $1 or $2 or something.
Okay. So pretty much getting what you put in.
Sure.
back.
Yeah, we could think of it that way.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's still a
Okay.
win.
Well, I didn't know the Powerball went up that high.
But I didn't know either until last week. And the funny thing is, like, my brother told my mom, like, okay, you have to go now to buy. And we went to get groceries. By the time we get to the gas station, they were like, oh, the Powerball drawing, like, you cannot buy it now because it's closed already. They closed it at 7 p.m. or something. So we were like, okay, fine, let's buy it next drawing then. And apparently no one got it last time. So the chances are still there for those who are curious.
Okay, so it's your brother. So it's your brother who is keeping track of the Powerball.
He doesn't really buy. Yeah, he doesn't really buy, but I guess like he watched news and stuff. So yeah, I just told my mom about it. And another news. Remember, he told me to take that.
Oh yeah.
So I think I jinxed myself.
What are you? What are you?
I got the layer cake.
Hey!
No,
That's the software developer.
Oh my god! So for those who doesn't know, like the layer cake essentially is the strength is like attention to details, action oriented, problem solving. Essentially, is software engineering if you think about it that way. And I was pretty confident that I won't be in that category.
Nope, it's you.
I have a feeling that the test is rigged, but then I don't know.
Okay.
Do you know anyone that have a different result?
That works in engineering? No.
No, not necessarily. Just anyone that has different result than the layer cake.
Okay, so basically, every engineer that I know has gotten the layer cake. Every designer, including me, has gotten the macaron.
Okay, interesting.
And then I have a few other friends who are like in completely different industries and they get different things. But
Okay,
for
that's
everybody
fair.
around me, it's been the only two options. It's
It says
actually kind of crazy.
recommended role is like software engineering, architect, chef, and athlete, which is I thought was interesting.
Which one?
And so the layer cake. So
Oh,
the
oh, oh, yeah. It
recommended
says the
role,
recommended roles. Yeah.
yeah. And another interesting number that I found is the workaholism index, which is 87%. I guess I can relate to that.
It
That's
could be
pretty good.
higher for you. It could be higher.
Sure, mine is probably like 105 at this point. Awesome. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's good. At least you demystified that this test is rigged. So interesting.
I'm just saying, I think you just fall into the same category as all other developers. I'm painting everybody with a broad brush right now. You are all layer cakes, I guarantee.
It's I wish it would be the different one, but it is what it is. I can't deny it.
You really thought you were gonna be different. I was like, nope, I know.
I thought my perspective have changed over the years, but I guess not swingly hard, like different to a point where it would sway the test. But I guess not. Yeah. I mean, while I was answering the question, there were a few questions I was like on the borderline. I feel like if had I answered those differently, I may had different result.
I mean,
But then I
yeah.
try to answer it truthfully, right? So I don't want
Yeah,
to like
exactly.
fudge the answer, if that makes sense. Okay.
You know what the
So I
funny
guess
thing is, though?
mhm.
If you look onto the layer cake, at the bottom it says like work besties and just coworkers. I'm one of the just coworkers for you.
Oh.
So
Actually,
we're not.
I took the screenshot of it and then I cut for whatever reason like the name was cut out, so I only see the character.
It's the
So I
blue
didn't
one,
even
the
know.
blue circle.
Ah, okay, interesting.
Yeah, so that's me. So technically, we're not supposed to be friends. We're just coworkers, all business, no casual.
That's fair. Even in my company, I don't think I'm friend with any of the designers.
You're not. That's what makes you a developer.
Yeah, because I don't really talk to the designer. I mean, they show like the design and stuff. We're like, oh yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah,
But I don't really
be
converse
nice
with
to them. Be nice to them.
Oh, I'm nice to them. Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
actually
don't.
like
You
them.
you better nicer.
I'm always nice to designers because I think is they are the one that makes or break our product. If that makes sense, right? Like no matter like to put it out there, no matter how good of a service or like the product they're trying to create, if your UI sucks, everything else goes down to the drain. So I think the designer is super important in this case. Like they are the one that makes the experience, the user experience, like really like seamless. Like you can build the best product in the world, but if your UI sucks, then nobody's gonna use it.
This is
So
true.
that is that. Yeah. So from this test, I want to segue to something related that I want to talk about today. Is the job outlook and school. Because I do hear from a lot of younger friends, right, that right they always complain like, oh yeah, it's bad market, and also even like those that are hunting for a job right now, I think it is a bad market currently. But I want to take from you and myself, because our roles are very different. Like you're more a designer and I'm more like a MLE, like machine learning engineering, so it's a little bit different, maybe wildly different in this case. But then I want to understand kind of your perspective. So I mean, first of all, like straight up question is, do you think the current market is good or bad for your specific role?
I think it's not terrible, to be honest.
Okay.
It's not great,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's definitely not as easy as it used to be. I think there's
Yeah.
more competition. I think employers are getting a little bit like less innovative, I guess. So, you know, things like user experience, user research, that kind of stuff, it's all based around how do we make things that are really good for the user, and that might mean that it breaks whatever norms are currently there, right? Like we come up with new ideas and whatnot, and it's especially in a time like this where like the economy is not fantastic, and trying these new ideas rely on these like leadership of these companies to take a chance and like risk their name for it and stuff, and a lot of them aren't like fully willing to do that right now. Whereas I feel like a few years ago, I think it was big on like fail fast, fail often, that kind of thing. So they were more trying. So I don't know. It's not great, but I think it's still possible. That's what I've been telling people.
Yeah. I think from my side of roles is, I would say it's pretty competitive now than before. And because now, well, there were always like layoff here and there every other week. If you
every other week.
News and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah,
like in general.
Big tech, yeah, like Amazon, Amazon Video, Amazon Ads, Meta, Google. Like I think at this point it's more like a norm now, if anything. For those who remember, like it was started by Twitter, and then from there it's just like spiraling down the tech company. And I think if I like when I was applying for a new job back in 2020, like for any given listing in LinkedIn or even like other site, like the posting within 1 day or two, you wouldn't see as many applicants as now. Now I think for any given new listing, I feel like after 2 days you have like on the LinkedIn it shows you right, how many people applied or whatever through their link. You will see like 200, 500 applicants. So even just that alone, I can tell now it's more competitive than before. And I feel like employer is more, well, because of that, right? They're more selective now of who they hire, and they want to take their time to figure out who they hire. Compared to before, and like, okay, you seem alright. Okay, let's get you in. You know, I mean, you still have to pass the interview and stuff, but it's not like they don't have as many options as before. I mean, compared to now. Now they have more options, so that's why they can take their time doing things. And I feel like these days, I don't know, I can't say for sure about the software engineering side of things, like front end or back end, but like for my role, I think it's vital to know full stack. So full stack meaning like from end to end, knowing how to like get a requirement, get the data together, build a model, deploy a model, monitoring, and then like dashboarding, and then like kind of like talk to your stakeholder about things. I think you need to know, like they value those skills more than just individual skills. That say if you work at Meta, if you are say like a data scientist or machine learning engineer at a given like team, that's the only thing that you do, nothing else, just that specific like role. But now I feel like they require you to do more than before. That's how I felt. But again, I haven't like looked around the market for a while, so I can't tell for sure, but just by looking and doing some research, that's what I saw thus far.
Yeah, I do think more companies are hiring nowadays. I know my company, we were in a hiring freeze for a really long time, like at least a year probably. And so we recently just came out of it. And so we started hiring a couple people again.
I see. Nice. So I guess like, what do you think, or maybe like even if you're a student currently in college, how do you think about like upskilling? Like how does one upskilling themselves to position themselves better to get a job? So in my opinion, right, like school teach you a lot of foundation thing, but not a lot of things they teach you is practical, if that makes sense. It depends on courses that you take. I think some courses that are project based is more practical, if anything. But there are also a lot of classes that are theoretical, which I mean it's useful to know them, but it's not applicable in industry, if that makes sense. Maybe to start with, I for myself, I do think like taking a lot of courses like outside of the school that's project based, and also kind of working on projects will force you to learn a lot of things yourself, and then from there you can build a portfolio and whatnot that you can show the employer to like position yourself as a stronger candidate, if that makes sense. But I guess that's my understanding from my role, but from I guess like designer perspective, like what is it about the same or is it different? What do you think about that?
I feel like it depends on which direction you come from in design. Like, I didn't have like a traditional design or art degree, so I had to learn most of what I know on my own, like just read a lot of books and articles and try things. But I think if you go through more, so I have like a different set of answers for that kind of person versus I think a lot of boot camps and courses and UX degrees nowadays are really focused on getting your portfolio ready. So a lot of it's like you do this document and you make this assignment, and then at the end you have like a put together portfolio. And I think that really does set you up really, really well, versus like if you're not traditionally taught UX, then you'll have to go through all those processes on your own, which is a lot of work. But I think for everybody, regardless of the topic or whatever, what is it called? Like career path you're trying to go into. I think trying to be able to converse with adults is the biggest thing. Like I didn't know how to do that. And I joined my company as like one of the only entry level people. Before, they only really focused on hiring seniors with a lot of experience in other consulting companies. And when I joined, I was like fresh out of college, so I was like 21 or 22, and I didn't know how to interact with the people there. They didn't know how to talk to me because they were like not used to having such a young person in the office, and so I think if I had more of those skills earlier, I would have like better connections now. Especially, I think that transition from like everybody's your age in college to everybody's no longer your age in a workplace, I think that's like one of the biggest like things to learn.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I think I myself also have grown a lot ever since I started working professionally. Like I remember when I started the first 2 years when I worked professionally at my previous company, like compared to now, my thinking around work is very different, and in a good way and also in a bad way. So what I mean by that is I used to be very, very passionate about work, like super passionate. I think like, I mean, now I still work hard, but I think back then it's like crazy hard for a company that probably doesn't require me to work that hard, but just go beyond what is required. And I think as a result of that, I got burned out quite easily because of it. And I don't think that's a good practice for those who are like, I think you should just work a lot during the allotment hours that you were supposed to work, and then outside of work you should enjoy your private life. That way you don't get burned out, and then you can you can be very focused when you are at work. And I guess another difference is now, right, compared to when we were in school, is the large language model and ChatGPT, which we don't have in the past. And I know it's being heavily used these days by all kind of students, from math to science to computer science to even humanities or philosophy, like anything you can think of. It's being utilized a lot, ChatGPT. I guess the main question, like from your perspective, do you think that is a good tool or companion tool for the students to have? Or do you think is that more harmful or more helpful to students, you think?
It's
So for example, like
prob-
math question, right? So let's say before we were doing calculus and stuff, and let's say your friend doesn't know answer, sometimes we'll go to check and like check the, type in the question and try to figure out how it works out, right? And then, or find a solution manual, try to figure out how it works out, and we try to practice it ourselves.
Yeah.
Whereas now we can just plug in the exact same question to say ChatGPT. Again, the answer they give you may be wrong, but then at least it's giving you something. So I'm just
Yeah.
wondering what your thought about that.
I think it fully depends on how you use it. I think if you're using it, like in that math example, right? If you're just using it to get an answer, it's kind of the same as like when you type in your question on Google and see if the professor is using the same like previous test questions or whatever, and you're just like, in that case, you're just getting it to get the answer. Or if you're taking that and actually like trying to digest it and understand it, because I like very validly, I think there's a lot of times where I don't know how to even like approach a problem. So if I get like, I would approach it as like I'm getting a hint from technology, right? And then I will like use my own brain power for it. I have a hard time with these I think a lot of companies are getting maybe a little bit ahead of themselves and like everything is Gen AI related and like AI is the future, and I'm like, okay, like it's definitely going to change how people work, but I don't think it's like as big of a splash that they think it's gonna be. But the one thing that did stick out with me at like we did a couple like Gen AI type lectures at my work recently, and somebody was like, at our level right now, AI is not going to take our jobs, but the people who know how to use AI will take our jobs, that kind of thing. So we should like at least not be ignorant to it. I thought that was kind of an interesting way to think about it.
Yeah, I don't know much about the designer work, but at a high level, the way I think about it, sure, like the large language model or like kind of image generation, those can help speed up your work. At least to my understanding, right? They can construct something based on what you describe, but it probably won't be like exactly what you're looking for.
You'll still need like a person, like a human brain to like interpret and all that.
Yeah. If anything, it will speed up your work faster. So I think that's a good thing, at least right now in the short term. And like from the software engineering world, I think it would help you kind of craft your code quicker than before. At least they give you some kind of template to start with, but not necessarily the absolute kind of like this is exactly what you need to copy and paste. Actually, there is a company that come up with a product called Devin. I'm not sure if you've heard of. And supposedly what they say is like the first AI software engineer. So supposedly that will replace all the software engineer, which I highly doubt. I actually look into it. It's useful, but you still. I can't imagine any company that would like use the AI software engineer to build everything and like deploy things to production. I highly doubt it. Like things are going to break. You need a QA. You need testing. All those things. I mean, we might get there in the future. Not to say that that's not possible, but I'm saying like it's short term. Probably you still need assistance from human. So if anything, will speed up the work for sure. And another thing I want to discuss then is what do you think about a grad school? So like, do you think for your line of work, like, is grad school helpful at all? Or do you think like just, doing undergrad and go to work is probably more, you'll get more return from it, if that makes sense? So now we're just talking about the industry perspective and not academia at all.
Yeah.
So then, yeah.
So I personally didn't go to grad school. So my take on it has always been like, people ask me too, like, is it worth to go to grad school for a master's in human computer interaction or whatever it is? And I've always told them, like, if you're trying to become like a product designer, like kind of what I do right now is like I build websites and stuff, then I personally think that whatever education that you get in like a bachelor's or a boot camp or whatever is sufficient, and you'll just like have to keep learning and like keep up with the trends and all that on the fly. But I think if you're trying to go more into like the research and development space, and go more into the theoretical side of user experience, then maybe the master's could help you. But to be honest, I haven't done the master's, and I was like pretty adamant that I didn't want to do it. But so it could be like really different than what I think it is. But I know you have degrees. You have several degrees. What do you think about them?
So, for those who don't know, like, I have one undergrad degree and then 2 masters. And one of the masters I did on campus, and the other one I was doing it while I was working. Crazy, I know, but
yeah, slightly.
Slightly. So I have a little bit different perspective. I do agree. Like, to me, if you just do, let's say, bachelor in computer science, I don't think you necessarily need to go to take the master's for computer science to be able to get a job and like be able to learn things and advance yourself, your skill. But from taking the master's of computer science, what I noticed is a lot of people who are not computer science background, they will take the online masters computer science, especially for my school, because it's really cheap. I think it's like less than 10K for the degree online. They use that as a way to make the transition. And also, to argue another point, is like they can also do this with bootcamp and whatnot. But I think if you have a concrete degree, and especially from like established school, you might be able to get more opportunity, if anything. But not to say, if one route is better than the other. I'm just saying that for those who want to switch from non-computer science to computer science, that is a good way to do so. That is cheap, if that makes sense. So, yeah, unless you want to go to like research, then I agree. Grad school will be better suited in this case. And the next question I feel like is more on undergrad student. So looking back, do you think, again, our experience is also different in this case, like, do you think it is better to speed through the undergrad? Like, I know there are people who graduated like even before 4 years, and some stay like 5 years, right? Because they did like study abroad, internship, research, all those things. I guess, like, which camp are you on, if that makes sense? Because I think we may have a different outlook on that one.
Yeah. I've always been very steady in this answer about, like, I think that you should take as long as you need in college to enjoy it and like meet people, learn all the things, go do the programs you want to do, like within reason. I think, like, I don't think there's, unless you have some sort of dire like financial reason or whatever, I don't think there's any particular good reason to speed through undergrad. I think you're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunities. So I always say, like, take all 4 years. That's what I did. I know, like, if I wanted to, I could have graduated in 3 years, and I like actively held off on some of my required classes until like my last year so that I could stay all 4. I am a little hesitant on people staying maybe longer than 4 or 5, unless they had like a study abroad for a long time or one of those like internships or whatever. But I don't know. I hear people speeding through college, or this is kind of like a I knew a person who was really, I told them like my perspective, like college is a great time to meet people, to learn about yourself and all that. And I think they were a little bit more stubborn that like college is for education only, and it doesn't matter, like you can meet friends after college, it's fine, just you need education always comes first. And I was like I don't know, like I'm not saying education isn't important, but I'm also saying that like there's more to it than just that. So I had we had a big discussion about that.
So if you asked me 7 years ago, I think I was that kind of person.
Yeah.
Mainly, there are a few things, because one, I was very focused. So then I just want to get things done. But I think looking back now, I wish I would have like be more chill, if that makes sense. Because I had felt like when I was in undergrad, I just feel like I'm just go every day. Like I literally go to school at like 6 a.m., 7 a.m. and then I stay till like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. every day. Almost every day I do that. And so looking back, like, I mean, my social life, honestly, is not that great back then. It's mostly class, research, doing tasks, doing homework, and then badminton. That's pretty much it. Like, there's no other variety. I mean, I've talked about this a couple of times already, but like, I wish I would have slowed down a little bit and get to know more people. Because like you said, right, like, college is literally the perfect settings to do that.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way to fail.
Yeah.
By meeting more people, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that I fully agree, and I wish I would have done that. Not to say like I need to go back and change it, but like I think I wish I would have done it. I think my experience would be very different had I done that. So I mean, what is done is done. So it's like I can't just go back and turn back the clock and say, hey, change it. But it's okay.
It makes me so sad. I think about that all the time. I'm like, if I could go back to college and start over, I would do it 100%. I would just like do it again. And it's not that I didn't have a good college experience, but like I feel like I didn't try very hard in college. I could have done a lot differently, and I'm like, it would be so much fun to go back to college.
Yeah, that's fair. That's why I always advise friends that are younger, like, please just enjoy college. Don't be like me, take so many classes, put so many things on your plate for no reason. Just enjoy a little bit, and I think you'll find it more rewarding later for sure. So last question that I have is, earlier we talked about boot camp and whatnot. Do you think like does school matters here, or do you think like if I'm interested, say right now, I'm interested in say design, is it simply as just go to boot camp, join the program, finish it, and then try to find a job around that area, or is it more like, okay, I should target like go to the school that teach me at least like major that around the subject, and then try to find a job? Which route do you think one will be faster, and then two potentially can land me a job, if not a better job?
Yeah. Let's see. So there's a long list of pros and cons. I think if you're trying to go for just pure speed, the boot camp is going to be better. The boot camp is probably going to be cheaper and faster, but I hope the climate is changing recently, but I know a lot of the slightly older people at my company and other companies like look down on the boot campers. They're like, oh, they don't have a traditional degree. They just did a boot camp for a couple months, and then like what, they think they know everything. They're kind of rude about it, but I think the climate I hope it's changing. So even though the boot camp is very geared towards getting you a job, I think you still have to explain like why you chose the boot camp, what did you do prior to boot camp, all that kind of thing. So I think it's a little harder in the getting job category.
I see.
But if you get a degree, it's going to be way longer, right? It's going to probably cost a little more. But in a way, it's kind of that like stigma about like if you have a degree, you must know about it, or you went to this prestigious university or program, and it's all just politics from there. But the one thing about college is they might not be as geared for getting you a job as a boot camp is. So you might have to do more of that like job hunting, job like putting together the resume, and you're like preparing on your own. So I don't know. I think my general advice for people who like want to switch careers is just go ahead and do a boot camp and just go from there. I don't know. Do you think they should go to school?
I don't think so. I'm a proponent of getting a job fast, and no matter what it takes, because the thing is, even if you go to school full time, honestly, most of the skills that you're going to learn is from work and not from school. I mean, sure, school gives you a lot of foundation, right? A lot of knowledge around the history, how these things come about, and then a lot of like mathematical, especially in the software engineering world, a lot of mathematical kind of like approaches to things. So it helps you a little bit, but most of the time, honestly, either someone already built a package for it, or like someone already solved it. So unless you're going to research, then I agree. Maybe school is a better route. And so then the final question is, if you were to pitch someone to study or become a UI UX designer, how would you go about to pitch to them?
Specifically UX or just in general?
No, UI UX for you. I'll do the same for my role. Like what is pros and cons of working as a UI UX designer, so that people know, okay, you know, maybe this is the role that I want to do.
God. Okay, let's see. I think okay. I think UX is good for people who like have categorized themselves as creative, right? But they're not like, they're also a little bit more technical than the typical creative person. Because the way I always talk about it is art and design are, to me, very different. They're two very separate things. Like, art can exist for the sake of existing and people can make it, and that's like a completely different category. Whereas design has logic to it. There's wrong answers to design. There could be a right answer to design, whereas for art it's a little bit different. So that's why I'm like, if people have grown up and they're like artistic and they draw a lot or whatever, it might not always mean that that translates well to UX. Because I know some people who are like super creative, but it's hard for them to think about like, okay, what does this mean for a developer or a business? And I think that's where the struggle comes in. So a lot of the UX process is talking to people, which is different than I think a lot of developers, and maybe for you also, is a lot of it is like mental fortitude. Is you have to be strong enough to like explain why you're important in this company, right? Because I work in consulting, so it means like these clients are paying a lot of money for us consultants to go there, so they're always looking for like, how do we cut budget and how do we and basically the designers are always the first ones to get cut. They're like, we don't need them, right?
Wow,
and so we have to stand up and be like, okay, well, if you cut us, here are the risks you have. This is why important. And I think that's something a lot of engineers don't have to do. So that's the biggest thing that I always tell people. It's like, it's a really fun field, but you're going to have to be like a little bit mentally strong to stand up for yourself.
I can see that. I think there's also a mindset of like, I feel like general mindset, maybe this is just me putting myself in like leadership shoes. It's like, and your comment about like, you know, design, people always get cut first because they feel like that can be done quite easily, but in practice actually it's not. For those who work in design and stuff, I'm sure they know like it's not easy to say, oh, build this and then you just create a mock or whatever. It's not as easy as that. You have to put a lot of thought into it and then user interaction and whatnot. From my role kind of perspective, I think what makes it fun is the problem solving side of things. For those who knows, like I hate doing repetitive stuff every day. Like if you tell me to do the same thing every day, I'll quit my job. I can't stand it. And the reason why I like my current role, at least like the role that the job I'm in, is like every day is a constant kind of like I have to think about solutions. I have to think about how to approach things, and every day the problem is a little bit different. So no one day is the same. And that's kind of what I like about it. And inversely to what Lily said, I rarely converse to people unless I have to. So that's another thing. The only people I converse to is either my managers, my teams, or the stakeholders that I work with. Otherwise, I don't really talk to anyone else that I need to talk to, or like other engineers and, you know, like the UI UX and the product managers. Other than that, I don't talk to anyone else. So it's nice. It's also flexible because for my kind of work, it's really hard to say like we can complete this work within like 1 week or whatever. There's a lot of try and errors because building a model is not something like I can give you concretely how long it takes. I had to try many approaches. Some I have to read from papers and implement and figuring out. But I think the fact that it's like every day is different, problem solving side of things, I like that part of it. And creative in a way that sometimes you have to think creatively to solve a problem a little bit. So I feel like that's the strong point for the working in my role. It does get tiring though, I gotta say, because you have to try a lot of different things, and sometimes it can be very demotivating. But you have to stay strong to figure out a solution in the end. So, so I want to leave it there. But I guess before we break, any other final thought that you have around this topic of job outlook and school?
Not really. I think it's hard for everybody, but we can do it. I can
just
do
gotta
it.
Stay strong.
I know. We just
stay strong. Apply a lot. Interview a lot. Eventually, you will land a job. Yeah. So good luck, everyone. We don't want to end this in a gloomy state, but good luck. And I hope everyone that's like a job seeker or looking to find a job soon will find a job that they want and be happy with it.
We can do it. It's possible.
Yes. And with that, we'll see you in a few weeks.
Okay.
Have a great weekend. Bye.
Bye.